let's get to the stars of the show. Ron Hacklinski and Pat King for this week's edition of Coach's Corner here on BroadcastSport.net.
And yes, we are the stars of the show. We're the pillars. We're whatever you want to call us. We've been called a lot, trust me.
Some good, some not
No,
so good.
we've been coaches, man. We've been coaches. People hollering at me, hey, tell that bum to sit down. Talking to me. I look in the crowd. I say, who are you talking to? Invariably, they put their head down and cower up a little bit. Because once you go after them a little bit, you talking to me?
They don't expect that.
No, you talking to me?
They don't expect that.
You know, and me and you, I mean, we're big guys, right? We're 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
We stand up. We go, hey, you talking to me? You got something to say now?
It's like down in front.
Yeah, thank you.
You know,
that's what I'm saying. They're cheering for us.
You know, and we're both old school enough. You know, we used to play. You know, we coached in front of some pretty good sized crowds, and I always liked to go to the places that actually had hometown season ticket holders. 4 or 5 rows right behind your visitors bench, because they were the ones, they were on you all night.
All just miserable.
Yeah, you stand up to say something. Coach, sit down. And I just stand up to.
Well, no, I would
antagonize
them. I would turn around and stare them down. I stare them down, and man, come on. That's why I'm glad we're here. because we're not antagonized. We have someone that likes us. Our producer Johnny Be Good, he likes us. Why? I don't know. But he comes out, he films us, he puts us on the air, and we can talk about anything we want to talk about. But let me hit my trip first. My family and I, Monica and Bugsy and me. And speaking of Bugsy, works for Hahn Funeral Home. Is going to go into the business into funeral school or whatever you call it, and he's doing a pretty good job. And it's probably the perfect time for me to ask you this question.
What did the 2 coffins say to each other?
What did one casket say to the other casket? You blew it already. Is that you?
That's why I can't tell jokes.
John, can you get Robbie Berger on the line here?
I'll get him on the Blackstone hotline real quick.
Get him on.
I was just going to mention we are here at Bar Louie again tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Tuesday nights for you local people is half-priced burger night.
Yes.
So
what a great place.
And tonight there's plenty of seats downstairs. Tomorrow, a little more crowded because those hamburgers must be pretty good.
Those hamburgers are really good, and we would certainly like to thank the great people at Bar Louie for allowing us to put our show on here, and the venue's great. We have TVs everywhere. Downstairs is really cool. There's a lot of people down there. We like it up here because it's a little more quieter and the lighting is better. Yeah, but hey, I was in Atlanta, Georgia. I went to the Cub game. My nephew Randy got tickets. In great seats to the Cub game, and in Atlanta, we were in these special boxes, and we could. So the game started at 7:30. We got there at 6:30, so we could go downstairs, and there was like a Delta room. They called it a Delta room. I mean, any food you wanted, any beverage you wanted, and everything was free. I had barbecue ribs, I had baked potato, I had all of that, and then when we went to our seats, we never left our seat. What do you want?
You had a hostess?
Yeah. What do you want? You want a box of popcorn? You want another a rib? Of course, I can't drink any libations anymore, but my nephew, my brother, hey, can you throw me a beer? I mean, it's just amazing, and the Atlanta Stadium is amazing.
That's a new stadium. I mean, it's new probably, compared to what we grew up with. It's not the stadium that Henry Aaron hit his home run.
No. But it's about 7 years old. Mm-hmm. It's got all the amenities that you would think about, but. We saw the Cubs play the Braves, and by that time the Cubs were toast. In September, I think they were 5-13 or 5-14. They probably had the lead in the wild card heading into September, and quickly lost it. And And I don't know if they were tired or if the season was long, and they didn't play a lot of subs during the season, so I'm pretty sure that they could have got wore out. But neither one of those games, I mean, that game was not close. The first two games, the Cubs had the lead going into the late innings.
And I watched those on Tuesday, Wednesday,
yes,
I believe.
And blew those games.
Well, and the statistics I've seen, Heck, showed that in the month of September, the bullpen just couldn't keep the game. They were ahead 6 times, I think, after the 6th or 7th inning, and lost.
Yeah, and they had some injuries. They lost their closer. They lost a couple of other players or pitchers in the bullpen, and it was just not to be. They went to Milwaukee, and if they would have swept Milwaukee, they probably would have got in. But give the Miami Marlins credit. They played really well down the stretch, and they got the second or the third playoff spot, and so then Saturday or Friday night we went to see my nephew Jeremy Hecklinski play his high school football team. They have 7 classes of high school football in Georgia, and I don't know how many they have in Texas. I mean, do you know right off the
6?
All right, so in Georgia they have 7, and his high school, Walton High School, is the number 1 rated school in the state of Georgia in 7A. He is the number 1 rated quarterback in 7A, and they were 5-0. They played a team called North Paulding, who was also 5-0.
Okay.
And as the game was a great game. 2 of his top receivers got injured. His number 1 running back got injured. And it was really the first big test because I don't think Jeremy has played after the middle of the third quarter because the games were so lopsided.
Okay.
And so in this game, he had to play the whole game. He was maybe 23 for 40 for 371 yards, 5 touchdowns, and just a stud as a quarterback. About 6 foot, about 185. He's committed to Wake Forest, and the head coach at Wake Forest was there. Dave Clausen was there because, and I can only speculate, but I know some other schools are coming in on Jeremy a little bit and saying, hey, listen, if you would decommit,
change your mind
from Wake, we're here,
right?
And Dave Clausen was there, and he brought his offensive coordinator and watched the whole game. And
hang on, your voice went dead on you.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm revived.
You must have been
CPR. CPR. What? But on that team, on that Walton team, they have 8 Division I players.
Oh my!
Their starting left tackle is 6'7", about 325, and he's committed to Georgia.
It's a good place for him.
He's committed to Georgia.
Take care of that quarterback.
A couple receivers are going to Navy, the Naval Academy. The tight end's going to Miami of Ohio. A couple cornerbacks are going maybe to North Carolina and some other schools in the ACC. But it's big. It was big time high school football.
Big time football.
Big time high school football. The stands were jam packed. The stadium was beautiful, and it's a Friday night in the South, man. It's Friday Night Lights,
That's what
right?
you do.
Yeah.
Georgia high school football is top notch. That's for sure.
Yeah, and so then after that, on Saturday, Jack coaches a little AAU baseball in Georgia, and so we went to watch him play. And watching him play, watching him instruct those maybe 12 and 13 and 14-year-old kids, he was great, man. The drills that they do, he probably had 25 kids. He had 2 groups, one from 9 to 11 and one from 11 to 1. At about $4,000 a pop, and this is the fall leagues.
Sure.
Okay, this is the fall leagues. They practice 3 days a week, and they play games on Sunday, and they do it for 7 weeks.
Okay.
And I'm watching him, and he's out there coaching his brains out, and that's what he loves to do. Baseball is what he loves to do.
That sounds great. Well, you mentioned Atlanta. Let's talk some baseball. You said the Cubs are out, and tomorrow we start the wild card games. And you've got 4 games coming up here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with the wild cards. And what I thought was, I don't know if it's different or just the first time I've recognized it, it's a best of 3. All 3 games are in the same location. For example, Texas goes to Tampa. They've got a 3 o'clock game all 3 days, so the schedule's the same each day. But they're in Tampa, best of 3, 3 o'clock. And the winner of that plays Baltimore starting on Saturday. One of the other is Toronto is at Minnesota at 4:30, and the winner of that best of 3 plays Houston on Saturday. Then we get to the night games. You've got Arizona at Milwaukee at 7. The winner of that best of 3 is going to play the Dodgers. And then the Marlins are in Philadelphia for the 8 o'clock game. They're the nightcap. And the winner of that best of 3 goes to Atlanta starting on Saturday. So right now, are these the best teams? They're the best teams right now. And I think a lot of it goes on the same thing that we kind of grew up with, the coaching. You can be really good in November and December and not be in the tournament. Or in high school, anyways, you're a one and done.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you're not playing your best ball at the end of the season, you have nothing to show for it. And that's where a lot of these teams that got off to a good start, like think about what in April and May. The Reds. Think how good the Reds were in April and May. They were good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what everybody was talking about. This is the year for the Reds. I didn't mention their name. Here at the end, they weren't playing good ball.
I think the Reds were maybe 1 or 1.5 games out of the wild card setting. I think this is interesting. When you look at the American League East, and you really saw a shift in power because Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Toronto, all 3 of those teams are in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 2 teams that have been the powerhouse teams for many years, the Yankees and Red Sox are out.
Well, and think about how bad Baltimore was for numerous years. They were 100 losses, and nobody wanted to go to the games. Now all of a sudden here they are, arguably the best team in baseball, at least in the American League.
So there's always this dichotomy between losing and then drafting higher.
Yes.
And then drafting higher. And Baltimore lost for a long time, but their drafts, obviously, their infrastructure in their baseball regime and their baseball people from the standpoint of drafting and minor leagues and things like that. I mean they do a great job.
And how about Tampa? How many times has Tampa won, cleared the roster, restarted, rebuild, and all of a sudden they're back in the playoffs? This might be the 3rd time they've done this that I can think of.
With a $40 million payroll.
With one of the lowest payrolls.
In the game.
Yeah, with one of the lowest payrolls in baseball.
So what that tells you is, they got a great manager. Their scouting staff is really good. They've made great trades, and they're bringing young players up, and they're doing that this year without their star shortstop Wander Franco, who is back in the Dominican Republic, signed an $82 million contract.
Got himself in trouble, didn't he?
With a 16-year-old young lady, and he may never play again.
Things that you might be able to do in the Dominican, can't do that in the United States.
Yeah. Well, it's the Dominican that brought the charges against him. So he's not even a part of their team right now. But I find that interesting when you look at probably, I don't know, in the top 5 of payroll, the Yankees and the Red Sox would certainly be in that group. And they're bringing up the rear, probably 20, 22 games out for the Red Sox, probably maybe 18 or 19 games out for the Yankees. So now it's time for them to retool, and they'll be in a position when it comes time to draft day that they haven't been in a very long time.
Right.
Selecting at the top.
Well, and how about, let's see, the Angels, huge payroll. Cubs, huge payroll. Is it time to unload some of those people and regroup?
Well, the Angels, they're going to have some huge internal discussions because Ohtani is done now. I mean, he doesn't have a contract after this year.
That's right.
So he's a free agent. So will they try and sign him before he injured his pitching shoulder? I mean, there were talks at maybe $500 million, $450 million for him.
He was the best hitter and the best pitcher. Which, like they said, he was a generational player.
So I don't know where he shakes out now, but I don't think he wants to go back to the Angels. It wouldn't surprise me if the Dodgers ponied up on him. And now Mike Trout, who's just been a phenomenal player for 7, 8, 9 years with the Angels, he's saying, man, it might be time for, as Ariel Speedwagon once said, it might be time for me to fly.
Right. Time for a change of scenery.
Yeah, and if that happens, they'll be students. The American League Central, who cares who wins? I mean, it's the Twins. It's the Twins this year, but it could be the Guardians. The Tigers played really well. The White Sox stunk it up, man.
I mean, the Twins win their division, but they probably out of the teams, the 6 teams, they might have had the 6th best record.
No, I agree 100% with you. I mean, 100%.
I mean, at second place, Texas and Houston were basically tied, and they both had very good records. They both have better records than Minnesota.
And Tampa Bay is like 33, 34 games over 500. So you're exactly right. The best team in the National League, without question, and I saw play, were the Atlanta Braves.
Oh my gosh, I watched one of the games this weekend. They just hit all 1 through 9.
I mean, they hit 307 home runs as a team, tied the overall record. But I think they had 6 players with 30 or more home runs. And they're loaded, and all those guys are signed. I think through 2027, they lose Freddie Freeman. They go to the Oakland A's, and they get Matt Olson. Matt Olson has 54 home runs this year.
And they
made 134 ribbies and 54 home runs.
And all your old timers will tell you that pitching will win championships. This will challenge that, because this is one of those where they are deep all the way. I mean, they've got pitchers hitting the ball.
Well, I mean, tell me a better player than Ronald Acuna. He's hitting 336, 42 home runs, 110 RBIs, plays right. I don't know if there's a better player. I don't know if there's a better second baseman than Ozzie Albies.
Well, like you said, you saw him in person.
I mean, he's got 32 home runs.
Yeah.
So I think the Dodgers might challenge a little bit there. I'm not sure about Milwaukee. Milwaukee's just very well coached. The Diamondbacks are young. The Phillies can hit the ball. I mean, they can hit the ball. But
I think I was listening to one of the talk shows. They said they're kind of putting the Phillies as maybe the third team.
Yeah. If Atlanta does not win, and represent the National League in the World Series, then I think there should be an investigation. That's just exactly what I'm going to say. Because I think they're that talented. Now, I don't know about their pitching. They've had some issues a little bit with their pitching, but Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, they're just Marcell Ozuna had 37 bombs. I would hate to pitch against them, to be honest with you.
So the games start tomorrow at 3:00. You've got, if you want to stay up late, you've got a 3:00, a 4:30, a 7:00, and an 8:00. 3 straight days, best of 3.
Man, for baseball guys, it's baseball heaven.
Yeah, that's like an NFL Sunday for them.
It's baseball heaven. So we're going to have a guest on here in a minute. We're going to talk some high school football, correct?
Yes, we're going to have Austin Hough here from the South Bend Tribune. John, you want to take us a break here, and we'll get things organized, and you're getting hold of him. John and I have been busy all weekend. We had Friday night football. We had Saturday afternoon football.
So who did you have Friday night?
Friday night, we went over to New Prairie. We had South Bend Riley and New Prairie, and that was like the game of the week here in this area. Undefeated South Bend Riley, and we had talked about all the prelim things about how excited people were that Riley was undefeated and was their best team since the 1960s. Back when they still wore spankies and single bar face masks.
Oh, they had a player back in those days named Ole Galloway.
Well,
he was a star back then. So let me ask you this question: did Riley run their 10 in the box defense?
yes, they sure did. As I suspected, everybody was talking about how great their defense was, and I said, okay, it can't be as good, any better than it was. Last year they got the same players. What were they doing different? Well, I saw that different, and that's something that Austin and I can talk about. Austin had a chance to see the game too, so when we get hold of him, that's some of the stuff that we can deal with. We saw a very New Prairie team that actually threw the ball. A team that had been throwing the ball maybe 4 or 5 times a game, threw for over 300 yards of passing. So when you see the statistics of that game Saturday morning, and rushing was like 80 yards, passing was 300. No, that wasn't a misprint.
What did Kenny have to say about that?
Oh, Kenny was he thinks it's Super Bowl is just around the corner. The Super Bowl is just around the corner, according to the mayor of New Carlisle.
And then you had the tomato can game.
Oh my
on
word!
Saturday, right?
What a change in culture. We had South Bend Clay, who had a 34-game losing streak. Might as well have been 100. I think the last time they won was like 2005.
No, okay.
I think it was 2019.
So I will tell you, the last time they won, the Dead Sea was
the
only
Dead
sick.
Sea was sick.
Was only sick.
and
Moby Dick was
and
a
Moby
minnow.
Dick fit, right?
Yeah, Moby Dick was a
He
minnow.
could still
last time
swim
they
in the
won.
Dead Sea at the time, and the challenge was North Newton wasn't that good. And if you look at the power ratings, you've got the worst team in 3A against the worst team in 1A, and like we said earlier, great schedule.
Great, Al Hartman.
Great scheduling, Al Hartman.
On that, man. Great scheduling. You got yourself a tomato can, and you got a W for the boys at Clay, who go to practice, who work, who work at it, but just haven't had any success.
And the thing is, Al wasn't even there.
Wow.
Al left town. He had a family wedding, so he had to take care of that. So actually, John ran the show. John was the AD on Saturday. And they had a great tailgate for the alumni. We can talk about that. That's one of the things I'm going to bring up before we go is reunions for old teams. I've got a comment or a commentary I'd like to make about that. John, take us to a break.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back as Austin Hough from the South Bend Tribune will join us after this. You're watching Coach's Corner on BroadcastSport.net.
Tony Letcher with Health Markets Insurance is a proud supporter of Coach's Corner. Whether you need help with your health insurance or Medicare, it's time to get the right coverage from the right place. Call Tony at 574-307-8882 or visit his website at tletcher.com. Andy Kern and James Carpenter are both real estate brokers with the Weichert Real Estate and Jim Dunfee and Associates Agency. The office is locally owned but has big company resources behind it that many smaller real estate offices just don't have. Whether you're selling your fifth house or buying your starter home, Andy and Jim can help. They have great experience. Call or text Andy at 574-386-4479 or give James Carpenter, a call at 574-292-2277 for great local real estate service. Frick's Driving School has been named the best driving school in Michiana. Not second best, not third best, but the best. Man, if I was a kid and I would learn to drive from Frick's, my life would be so much better with my wife. She's always complaining about my driving. The best in Michiana. Frick's was started in 1960 and is located on Edison Road in Mishawaka. If your child is 15 or if your child is 67, you can get them started at Frick's. There are multiple instructors available for driving lessons, including our own coach, Patrick King. To learn more, go to fricksdrivered.com or give them a call at 574-256-2881. Man, those are some great sponsors, and obviously we would like to thank them for all they do for our show.
Thank them. Along with, as we mentioned earlier, we're here at Bar Louie tomorrow night. Tuesday nights is half-price burger night, so come in on Tuesday nights. You're also welcome to come in tonight and sit up here with us.
No, we'll put you on the show.
We'll put you on the show.
Throw you right on here.
If you're listening, if you have a question about anything, we're going to talk football here in a little bit. Down at the bottom of the screen as you're watching that phone number, you can text questions into us, text them in. If you call and the line's busy, it means we're talking to somebody else, so don't think we hung up on you. Just send us a text, and we'll get to your questions and go from there. So invite you that. So we've got a guest. John, you want to introduce him?
Yes, a reporter with the South Bend Tribune, a good friend of mine, and obviously he knows you guys as well. Austin Hough from the South Bend Tribune joins us on the Black Sedan hotline for Coach's Corner.
Austin, good evening. How are you? This is Coach King.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No, I can't. Talk a little louder.
No.
Jeez, you blew my ears off.
Perfect. Hey,
I promise I wasn't talking that loud.
I'm just playing with you, man.
hey, welcome.
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me on. Hopefully I can provide some insight. I don't know, sometimes, but maybe like blind squirrels, finding a nut every once in a while. Like maybe I'll say something smart here.
Well, so I don't want to like make you think twice about saying stuff, but the the owner of the Tribune is listening tonight, so if he thinks you don't know nothing, man, you may want to say, hey, I got to go to the bathroom, man. I'll call you guys next week.
Yeah, trust us. We've only got there's only a couple hundred people listening right now, so you're okay.
You're all right, man.
Maybe I'll help.
Good.
I was hoping that, as much football, and not football, but all the other sports too. And we'll talk about that here in a second. You've seen probably every team around here at least once, and I just thought maybe we'd go through. You've got your little top 10, and for you people at home, when you read the Morning Tribune, and he's got that top 10 high school teams, this is the guy that's writing that article. So if you have any questions for Austin, you can ask him, and if you want any arguments, send them in tonight, and then we'll decide whether we want to tell him about them or not.
Hey, Austin,
email is ahough@gannett.com. I don't care. Put it out there.
There you
If you have a
go.
question or a qualm, you feel free to send it my way.
Give us your top 10, Austin.
Oh, God, you're going to make me test it off the top of my head. 10, number one. Yeah, 10's number one. I've seen the Kingsmen play. Only saw him once this year, actually, so far against Mishawaka, but I'm going to see him again this week against New Prairie, so we'll see.
Oh, you're coming out with us?
I am. You can't get rid of me just yet.
You are like
See, the problem is he likes you guys better than he likes me. That's the problem. He didn't come to my games.
He's been a frequent flyer out there with us.
Where's that game at?
New
Prairie
too, man. Yeah,
I know.
it's at New Prairie.
Yep, that's number 1 and 2 in your neighborhood, right?
1 and 2. I put New Prairie second this week. New Prairie, I think we all were wondering what was going on after week 1, that loss to LaPorte. But if there's never been an indication of week 1 not mattering to the rest of the season, look at what New Prairie and LaPorte have done since then. That has been a drastic turnaround since that week 1. In hindsight, the most puzzling result probably of the whole year is LaPorte beating New Prairie week 1. And then I kind of cheated this week. This is the first week I've ever really done this in a power ranking ever. I just tied for third Mishawaka, Northridge, and Northwood because I don't know how you fairly put them in an order right now. Mishawaka beat Northridge, who beat Northwood, who beat Mishawaka, and they're all pretty good. And it's like splitting hairs between which one of them is better right now. I guess Northwood has the 2 losses, so maybe they go down a step, but...
And right now, it really doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And we were talking about that in the press box. You were kind of throwing some ideas with Kenny and myself there after the game on Friday night over at New Prairie, and you had mentioned that you may just put all 3 of them at the same time. And here we are at the end of week 7, starting week 8. So
yeah.
I think I think it's a great idea. And I'm sure if you talk to any of the fans, they understand what you're doing. How are you going to decide which one's better than the other? You can't now.
Right. The only outlier in a sense is that Mishawaka beat Warsaw, Northwood lost to Warsaw, but so that would maybe you put Northwood just slightly below Mishawaka if you want to go with that argument. Especially because Mishawaka manhandled Warsaw and then Warsaw manhandled Northwood. So if you're going to make that argument, but Northwood then beat Mishawaka in an instant classic on Friday. So how do you do that
that's a game.
Too?
Heck, you missed that one. You missed an overtime game over at Northwood. He was down in Atlanta. Well, then you saw the number 6 team. Who's your number 6?
Riley.
South Bend Riley.
I still look, people were questioning what Riley was. 6-0 start, but who have they beaten, right? And you were there on Friday night. They played step for step with New Prairie for 3 quarters.
All right, offensively, how much better? Have you seen Riley before that game?
This was my first time seeing them.
Okay.
I've watched them on a couple replays, but this was the first time in person I had seen them.
How good would they have been with their best wide receiver, who was really their only wide receiver? He got hurt the second play of the game. He didn't even play a whole minute.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. It would have definitely been a maybe more compelling game, but you got to, the quarterback is part of that equation too, and some of the passes from Austin White just weren't there. They weren't on time or they were inaccurate. There wasn't a lot of drops necessarily from the Riley wide receivers on Friday night. It was more so overthrows, underthrows, slightly off target, but it would have been another threat at least. Maybe Riley would have gotten the running game going a little better with Marvin Schindler out there, but all things considered, obviously Riley wishes they would have won the game, but they played well for 3 quarters, and now they can learn from that. Hey, maybe we shouldn't be as aggressive. You don't want to tell your team to not be aggressive, but the play action passes were killing them. They killed them all night. You can learn from that now. They're going to get a real test in throwing the ball this week with Bremen. Tyrus Graverson leads the state in receiving yards right now. Got a story coming on him later this week, SouthBendTribune.com. There's a cheap plug right there.
Sure, you're allowed.
So, they've this is a serious throwing team that they're going to be facing on Friday night. You can't be as aggressive as they were against New Prairie. New Prairie, obviously not known for throwing the ball, and they still threw for 300 yards. So now you get a team that does want to throw the ball. Interested to see how Riley's defense attacks the pass-first offense in Bremen this week. So
yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yes, Riley is 6th in my power rankings, and then I put LaVille 7th. How about LaVille? Looked dead to rights against Glenn. Came back, won 31-27 after trailing 27-10 in the first, or I think it might have been halftime, or definitely in the third quarter. LaVille with a nice comeback. They're really good about that come postseason, but LaVille is a really, really solid 2A team, and they are playing well. Their only loss is to Knox, who's undefeated, and Knox is a really good 3A team this year. So, and you're going to have one loss. I guess a good loss to have. Concord, I put Concord 8th. The Minutemen, their losses have been, pretty competitive. The only one that's been bad was Northwood. They lost to them by 24 earlier in the year, but lost by 7 to Warsaw, lost by 7 to Northridge. Like, they are, a player or two away from potentially being 6-1. I watched their game with Northridge. It was on TV 46 this week. I watched the replay today, and they had a couple touchdowns called back penalties. So, they had a chance, early in that game to be up 14-0, 21-0 even, and really change the dynamic of that game.
Well, I think you're going to find. Yeah, I was going to say with Concord. Let's what you're saying is very accurate. And who do they play this coming Friday? I think that's going to be that's going to be their little, we'll call it a final exam before tournament, because you're saying they're better now than they were in early September. Let's see how much better they are, because that'll be a good challenge for them.
If you thought Northwood beating Mishawaka threw a monkey wrench into the NLC race, Concord beats Mishawaka this week, and all of a sudden, everyone's looking at Week 9, Northridge versus Warsaw.
Yes.
In Warsaw as the conference championship game. I think Northridge, after they lost to Mishawaka, the first conference game of the year, they lost to them by 21. I don't know how many people thought, Northridge would be there at the end still, potentially in this conference championship race. And here they are as one of the 3 teams tied. And Concord kind of controls the fate here of if we're going to see that Northridge-Warsaw game, Week 9, be for the outright conference championship.
Right, and Mishawaka is pretty good, and especially Mishawaka is very good at home.
Austin, I will tell you this.
It's going to be a tough match.
Yeah.
Austin, I will tell you this.
But,
if Concord beats...
Concord played the Mishawaka equivalent in Week 4 and against Warsaw, and that was a 10-3 game.
Yep.
So,
if Concord beats Mishawaka, Austin, there needs to be an investigation, okay? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Stop right there. Stop right there. Number 9, Triton.
I know who I'm talking to. Okay, I know who I'm talking to.
Number 9.
Triton.
Just say, yeah.
How about Triton? maybe candidate for surprise team of the year. I know they've been solid at the 1A level or 2A level, but they whooped North Judson this past week, 40-7. They don't think anyone saw that coming.
Right.
They're 5-2. Zach Whitaker in his first year as head coach really got the boys down there playing well. They have weapons everywhere. It seems like on offense. Cole Shively, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but he's been really good at quarterback for them all year. Javon May had 4 catches for 162 yards and 3 touchdowns this week. So that's pretty good. They've just had different guys go off, it seems like, every week. They could be a sneaky team down there at the 1A, 2A level there. And, I mean, who knows? You get growing and you never know what's going to happen. But they have been kind of a surprise. And, again, they got a big one this week with Knox. And if they win that game, all of a sudden Triton, Knox, and LaVille all sit there with 1 loss in conference.
Right.
Going into the final week of the season.
Now, the nice thing,
3-way tie.
Yeah, I was going to say, the nice thing for them, Austin, is Triton and Judson are in the same sectional at 1A. LaVille, even though they're the same conference, LaVille's in 2A. So it's not like it's the season challenges, and that's the fun part of it for the conference, and that's why they've got that conference the way it is. But I think that the rematch between Triton and Judson will be a dandy. So who's your number 10 team?
Yeah. At number 10, the Elkhart Lions have triumphantly made their return to the power rankings. Maybe I know probably Elkhart would probably beat Triton if they played head-to-head. The head-to-head, I understand the arguments. If you want to power rank them by that, it would look a little different. But just power rankings meant to kind of go off resumes, in my opinion, of who's playing well and who's doing good things. Elkhart, the last 2 weeks, I know the competition the quality of overall competition has decreased in the last couple of weeks with Adams. And the week before that, they played St. Joe. St. Joe's a solid team, but it wasn't, Penn and the Massillon, Ohio team that they played week 4. Right. It's a little different level of a competition. But Elkhart, maybe they figure things out. They got another winnable game this week with Marion on the road, and then they close with New Prairie in the regular season. The issue for Elkhart's they're in a really tough sectional. Penn, Shortway, Carroll, and Warsaw, the other 3 teams in their sectional at the 6A level. But look, when you get to the end of this power ranking, it's been really tricky this year. For the whole year, there's been kind of a clear-cut, in my opinion at least, top 5, 6, maybe 7 in that area.
Right. And
then when you get to 8 through whatever, it's kind of a hit or miss. St. Joe's been ranked in there. Bremen's been ranked in there. John Glenn's been in that 9-10 range. They were actually 9th last week. Their loss to LaVille kind of dropped them, but for the most part this year, the top 6 in any order have been Penn, Mishawaka, Northridge, Northwood, New Prairie, and then, LaVille's kind of been that 6th team. Riley.
Well, I mean, you got to talk about Riley. Riley's undefeated, man.
Right.
No, it escaped my mind. I was just trying to rattle them off.
Okay, let me ask you this question, Austin. Let me ask you this question. So do you consider Knox not South Bend area?
We do not cover Knox. No,
oh, okay.
We do not cover Knox.
Okay, but you cover Triton, but you don't cover Knox.
That is, I'm just doing what I'm.
I'm just asking because I didn't know, because obviously Knox beats LaVille, and LaVille's ranked 7th, and Knox is undefeated.
If we were covering Knox and Warsaw, those 2 teams would be in our top 10 for sure.
Sure.
But they're part of our official coverage area anymore, so I'm just going off of what I was told to include in our power rankings.
Let me say this. Let me say this much to you. So, Ron Heklinski's first coaching job was where?
I know where it is.
Was where?
Knox.
Was Knox High School? Knox High School.
I thought you were making me answer the question. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I was trying to whisper it to you.
My first year out of Manchester College, I lived out in Bass Lake. I was the freshman basketball coach and assistant varsity football coach as a Knox Redskin, and lived right across the street from a place called the Capri Club on Bass Lake, and just absolutely had a ball. I thought I was still in college, man.
I can imagine.
But I'm working. I mean, it was great. Hey, listen, man, we certainly appreciate your insight. So what do you think about Marion? What do you think about St. Joe? I mean, who wins that game, St. Joe Marion?
Feels like St. Joe they've had some they had a nice start there. They've lost three in a row now. But again, they've lost to New Prairie, and Penn, and who else did they lose this past week? Elkhart, yeah.
Elkhart.
So yeah, they lost in a row. New Prairie, Penn, Elkhart, or Elkhart, Penn, and then so that's a gauntlet for them. That's a really tough 3 games. 3 of the better teams in the area, obviously in the 6A teams, but it feels like St. Joe is in a better spot right now than Marion. I know they have the same record right now, technically, but Marion's wins are over Culver Academy. I don't believe Angola. They beat Angola this past week. I think Angola is still winless this year. If they're not, they're 1-6. The Hornets are struggling.
That's great scheduling by Marion. That's what I'm going to say right now.
Austin, before I let you go, let me ask you one thing about a different topic. You've got this every week. You do the Tribune Player of the Week, and then you have nominees. Is that where people call in, write in, phone in, text in? How does that work?
Usually, I'm on top of it, and I like to pick the nominees. But if people have nominees, they can send them in. There's no rules with that. But usually, I'm fairly on top of it.
Okay.
So I like to be able to pick and choose who the nominees are.
Coaches nominate, and then you make a decision. Because I was looking this week. This week it was all football players. I think last week it was one football player.
We do 2 different polls. We do a football player of the week, and then we do an athlete of the week, which is non-football players.
Okay, well, I saw the
we like to kind of split them up. We kind of try to do a football player of the week, and then we still want to recognize and honor the other athletes that are doing things in the area. So we have we call it the athlete of the week. Makes it seem like football players aren't athletes, but obviously they are. It's just what we call it.
I understand. Yeah. But that's good. That's great. But see, I think it's great because you're promoting, kids from all over the area, and it gives them a little bit of recognition, similar to what we do on game days when we do a Lineman of the Game award.
At broadcastsport.net.
Yes.
The Rocks,
just
man.
a plug.
They get the Rock. That kid from North Newton this weekend, he looked at me and goes, wow, this is cool. He didn't have a clue what we were doing. So
it's the only thing they're going to win this year, probably. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, that rock they took back was probably the only thing they got. Listen, Austin, we're up against the clock. I appreciate you taking a couple minutes here and talking with us and filling us in. You will be with us, I guess, for the New Prairie Penn game on Friday night. So I will see you.
Bring another. Hey, I'm sitting outside, but bring me a headset so I can join the broadcast. Obviously,
we can do that.
It sounds like a good idea.
That's a great idea.
Bring me on. I'm as much of a New Prairie expert as Ken Peterson right now.
Oh my God!
Jeez.
Now, and you know what?
Now Austin's stirring the pot.
Austin, you know what?
Give us a call.
We get you out. We get you out there in the public. They've got an election coming. It's an election year in New Carlisle for mayor, so you might want to think about that.
I don't have to think about how to spell Kaurich anymore. It's awesome. So, Babchinski, I'm still working on, but Kaurich, I've got it.
You got that one.
K-M-I-E-C-I-K.
That sounds good.
So, all right, Austin.
Austin, thanks, buddy. We'll talk with you down the road.
Thanks for having me on. I'll see you Friday night in New Carlisle.
All right. Bye now.
The Black Sedan hotline was rolling there for a while. Austin had some facts. I'm not sure I agree with this poll, but he writes it, so it's his. He has the right to put whatever he wants on there. But I think it's great because you can hear the passion for high school football in his voice. I will say this: if I was still playing in South Bend, even though it's not basketball season and I wasn't in a fall sport, I would probably still win the Athlete of the Week award, to be honest with you.
I'm not even going to go there.
I would have had many people call in and nominate me, and he would have said, Ronnie Heck ain't even playing.
Well, finally, you see their name enough. It's like billboards in somebody's front yard. Eventually, you got to vote for the guy.
You got to go down to the park and watch him play, man. This is amazing. Hey, big-time college football, John. Are we going to take a break and talk about some sponsors?
Yes.
Then we're going to come back and end the show on college football. Coach's Corner is brought to you by Kaurich Chiropractic and Wellness Center. Dr. Kevin Kaurich would like to invite you to stop by his office on Cleveland Road in South Bend, just east of Portage Avenue. He's been serving Mishawaka Michiana for over 20 years, specializing in back, neck, and headaches, naturally with chiropractic care. Go see him for a free consult at Kaurich Chiropractic and Wellness Center. Learn more on their website or give them a call at 574-282-2828. What about Hahn's Funeral Home, man? Did I tell you the joke? Have I told you this joke?
I'm going to act like I haven't heard it.
What did one cast?
No, you haven't told me the joke.
What did one casket say to the other? Is that you coughing? The loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, we're here to help. Our focus has always been on the families that we serve. At Hahn Funeral Home, we stand ready to meet your needs and exceed your expectations when selecting a funeral home. Our experienced funeral directors and staff will be there for you every step of the way for all your service needs. Hahn Funeral Homes, located at 505 West 8th Street in downtown Mish. You can call us anytime at 574-255-1474. Stop in to get answers from our local funeral professionals. And then obviously we can't get into this without talking about the Black Sedan Band, a band in Birmingham, Alabama. We have our Black Sedan hotline. They have great music. This is our second year with them sponsoring us. So if you have any questions, just let us know. If you want to book them, let us know. They do travel, and they're great. They play great music, and like I said, they've been with us for 2 years. Top 25 played out pretty much how it's supposed to play out, with the exception of Ole Miss, ranked number 20, beating LSU 55-49. So there's an upset. Number 20, Ole Miss, 4-1, 1-1 in the SEC, takes down Brian Kelly's LSU Tigers at 3-2 and 2-1 in the SEC. And then the other upset would be Kentucky beating Florida.
Yeah, that was a dandy. You know, we got home in time to watch the end of the LSU game. That was a fun one. It was like first one to 50, then you wondered if 50 was enough.
So Kentucky's 5-0, 33-14 over Florida, who was number 22 this week. Kentucky wasn't rated, so those are the two upsets. Got a good one coming up this Saturday, and I think they call this the Red River Bowl, maybe.
Red River Battle.
Yeah, Oklahoma at Texas. Oklahoma number 12 at number 3 Texas. That'll be a great game, man. That'll be a great game. We have a phone call,
Yes,
so
we do.
let's get to that.
And go ahead, caller.
Hey,
Hello?
I didn't know I had to wait. I didn't know I had to wait for Marcus Freeman and Mike Bray and everything.
Joe!
The great
My
Steve,
gosh.
the great
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
Hi, Joe. What's
Oh
up?
yeah.
What's happening,
Hey,
man?
Are you on your way to pickleball?
No, I'm done. I'm walking the dog. Matter of fact, hopefully I don't get run over. But it's great to hear from you guys.
Well, we're
Everything
sitting
good?
here talking about college football. Well, since we're doing college
Yep.
football, let's just jump into your specialty. Tell me a little bit about Purdue. We were just talking about top 25, but we're going to talk about Purdue. So tell me about Purdue, Illinois. Or just tell me
That
about
was a-
Purdue. Did you get hit by a car?
No.
Did you take the little bag to wipe or to pick the stuff up if your dog
It
doo-doos
was a route.
along the way?
It was a route. I mean, Hudson Card is a good quarterback. The defense was aggressive. I think they got a good chance against an Iowa team they can outscore this weekend.
You think they're going to have to outscore people right now?
Well, yes.
It's hard to tell. Well, I saw they got 112 yards from Tyrone Tracy. And a touchdown
Correct.
out of him. That was good. Deion
And
Brooks
then-
had a touchdown receiver. So, like you said, Card had
Yeah.
2 touchdown passes. That was impressive.
Yeah.
They got Hudson Card
I think-
out of the portal from Texas. So obviously he was a highly rated quarterback coming out of high school, and as we know now, and we've talked about this a lot, man. If you don't like playing at Texas, you don't like the coaching staff, you know you're not going to get any clock. Let's get into the portal and go to a school like Purdue, where I think he's a really good quarterback, and I think he can get some wins for Purdue, right?
Well, we have down here in Kentucky, we got Well,
You got Purdue people at Louisville right now.
yes, we got Brown there, and the quarterback for Kentucky is a guy that
Is he a transfer too?
yeah, Mertz. You know, they played Florida with Mertz this weekend.
Yeah, Kentucky beat Florida. Kentucky knocked Florida probably out of the top 25. Florida was rated 22. Hey, so Steve Douglas, when I was coaching at Anderson, we had great feeder teams, and Steve Douglas was the 8th grade coach at Northside Junior High, and he had an 8th grade team that put on a 4-year run at Anderson and won a lot of games with Eric Bush, Tyson Jones, Brett Manifold, Dwayne Miller. Talk about that team as 8th graders and how much fun that was coaching those young guys. And then as they go on and they win a million games at the high school level, the only thing they didn't win was a state championship. Well, they should have won one, but talk about that team.
Pike was pretty good, Coach.
Yeah, no, Pike was.
They were pretty good.
Yeah, but what I tried to do, and Pat and I grew up in the same feeder system with Anderson High School, and Pat and I had a couple good teams, but you know what I tried to do for you was to make sure that our kids had decent fundamentals, but they had practice skills that you weren't going to have to try to make guys play hard. They were, you know, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5. They were going to work at it.
Yeah, they did. They most certainly did. You did a great job. I mean, you had the IU fundamentals. Defensively, when they came in, they knew what help side was. They knew what driving line was, and forcing guys to the baseline. I mean, you did a great job of instilling those fundamentals.
I saw Aaron Boyd one time when he said when he hedged out on a pick and you stopped practice. Where'd you do that? And he goes, well, coach did that, and you know, we tried to make it easier for you in some senses. That, but Coach, you had a great run in the wigwam, and you stood to where you were. I'm not going to coach if we're not going to play there.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. I didn't see. I just couldn't see that, man. The tradition of the wigwam, the tradition of Anderson basketball. That would be like Lou Piniella saying, if the Cubs don't play in Wrigley Field, I ain't coaching. I ain't coaching. And so no, I mean that's kind of how that had to go, right?
Yeah. Hey, Steve, I got 2 minutes. I got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Tell me, give me your 2 cents worth on the Ryder Cup and how bad things really were.
I believe that it was over before it started.
In the immortal words of Steve Douglas. I love it.
Right. No,
hey, that's the name of our show this week. It was over before it started.
Oh, Lord.
There we go. I like that.
I mean, our team wasn't.
When you
got live golfers coming in.
Yeah.
I just.
And they didn't play for 5 weeks.
It was a cluster, you know what?
Yes, I hear you.
Compared to the other team that was just completely one. Yeah. We weren't one. We were like 8 to 12. You know.
I totally understand. Hey, listen, I'm gonna hang up on you.
Anyway, let's get 11 football players on the field up there in
South Bend.
Ready?
Right on, man. As we said in the 70s. Right on, man.
That's silly.
And then, okay. And here's what you got to do, okay? If you don't have 11, you never say, I knew it. You lie till you die, right? I didn't know we didn't have 11. Let me count them. I didn't know that. Jeez.
Blame it on Stupid assistant.
Blame it on an
Yeah.
assistant. Somebody's getting fired,
Yeah,
right?
fire some guy the next day and blame it on him.
Hey, listen, next time as soon as football's over, I'll get down the hood. We'll get on the golf course someplace
Yeah,
for an emergency
absolutely.
9.
Absolutely.
Great speaking with you,
Yeah.
Steve. You were awesome, man.
All right. Love you guys.
And
Love
you
you
were an
guys.
awesome 8th grade coach for us. Those guys were ready, man.
All right,
Thanks.
take care, Steve.
But God, was he good? He was just a great coach, and he loved doing it. So listen, I want to kind of get into that Notre Dame game for a minute here.
All right, we'll finish
Notre
up
Dame
with it.
Duke. What a game, right?
It was a great game, and we knew there might be a little bit of a hangover, but I think the Notre Dame people have to be thrilled to death right now that they could go down and play a very good Duke team, better than I think they gave them credit for, and to be behind and not play their best game and still figure out a way to win.
Well, you got to say Sam who? Sam
Yeah.
Hartman.
They
Sam
figured out a
Hartman,
way to win.
Heartman, because he's got a lot of heart, man. 4th and 16, he takes off and runs for 17. He hits Evans down the middle. Just when you think that, well, what are they going to do here? They're going to kick this field goal. They scheme it up, they block it up, and Estime runs for 30 yards.
They were just going to the middle of the
Touchdown.
field. He was going to the middle of the field and was going to slide and run the clock down to 1 or 2, snap it and kick the field goal and win. He scores a touchdown.
Well, and it does not matter how you win. All that matters is that you win.
Just win, baby.
And that schedule looks, it's 5-1 now. Now they go to Louisville this weekend, and
An undefeated Louisville.
is undefeated. Jeff Brom,
Yeah.
who was at Purdue for 4 or 5 years, got a nice program. Hey, here's something that's kind of sad. Russ Francis, tight end for the New England Patriots, at 70 years old, dies in a plane crash. So I started thinking about that today.
Oh, you got a list.
So this will just take us a minute, John. It'd be good. John Denver is flying his plane. He dies in a plane crash. John Kennedy Jr. flying a plane when he shouldn't have been flying. He dies in a plane crash. Roy Halladay, pitcher for the Phillies and the Blue Jays, he dies in a plane crash.
They were all the pilots, right?
Yes, Thurman Munson for the Yankees, he dies in a plane crash. Steve Davis, quarterback from Oklahoma, he flies into 2 houses in my
Yeah,
neighborhood.
that was South Bend.
In South Bend, the plane is hanging upside down in a house 1 street over from where I grew up. He dies in a plane crash. The common denominator is play your guitar, pitch your baseball, catch, throw a football, stop flying planes.
Let somebody else fly the plane.
Stop flying planes. My brother was a pilot for maybe 20 years, and he flew double-engine planes, twin-engine planes. Your son's a pilot. And my brother told me that 99% of the plane crashes are pilot error. And he said that it's people trying to beat a storm, not looking at the radar, not respecting the weather. And
Right.
play your sport, man.
I hear you.
Quit flying planes.
I hear you. John, tell them where they can find us. We need to finish up. We'll be on YouTube and all the Spotifys and everything else pretty quick. But people,
Facebook,
thank you.
Twitter, yep.
And we'll be back here again next week. Last week we had our largest viewership.
Yes, we did.
So thank you to everybody that's tuning in. Tell your friends. Sometimes we're not exactly responsible for what we say. We've kind of behaved ourselves tonight, though, didn't we?
Hey, we always behave ourselves, man. If you don't, so we're from the 70s. Are you kidding me? The greatest generation ever.
Just ask us.
Just ask us.
Yeah.
We're from the 70s, and we'll tell you how it is. So we didn't talk about the Bears, okay? Because the NFL stands for not for long.
Well-
And that coaching staff in Chicago is not for long. When you got a chance to take the lead with 2 minutes, and you're on the 18-yard line, it's 4th and 1, and you're on the 18, and you put in, your kicker, who's great, he knocks it in. You got the 3-point lead. So the head coach is the defensive coordinator. What does he say about his defense when he doesn't trust his defense to play D for the last 2 minutes of the game? How do you think those defenders think, hey, coach,
What
kick it.
What about us?
Hey, coach, kick it. We'll stop them.
Right?
NFL, not for long. And it's time that we take a look at that and get some people that know what they're doing. Take the lead. Kick the field goal. I mean, Justin Fields has a nice
Had
game.
a nice game.
Nice game, 335 yards. It's not the Detroit Lions. We're not biting any kneecaps, but
We're in first place.
the Lions are freaking good. 3-1. Dan Campbell's got them busting it and playing hard. That defense is great. I love the Lions. Hey, it's been a good show. I mean, we talked to
Thank you to our guests.
our guy Austin
Yeah.
Hough, and we talked about his top 10. We didn't agree with it, but it is what it is, brother.
But that's why we called him.
That's why we called him,
That's why
man.
we called him. And Steve gave us a call. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Pajo. Get on the golf course here as soon as we can.
Thanks, John.